You're watching NTV's Grow. Today on the show, a shorter planting season is creating a lot of challenges out there for area farmers. Water issues are brought to the surface, and new technology is helping out farmers in the fields. We have all those stories, but first, planting. It's lagging behind, and farmers are trying to take on any opportunity they can to get into those fields. So far, the USDA field crop report shows 14% of corn planted here in Nebraska. That's behind last year's 70%. 53% is the average this time of year. Only 1% of soybeans are in the ground, falling behind the 13% average. As those numbers show, corn planting is about a week and a half behind. And this is mainly due to the weather conditions. We've had a pretty cool, wet spring so far. The USDA report also shows soil temperatures as of Sunday were above 50 degrees in the western two-thirds of the state, but in the high 40s elsewhere. Pastures continue to show little growth, with many producers lacking the forage supplies to feed much longer. The first cutting of alfalfa will be short and late, with one less cutting possible this year. Even farther down in Kansas, the cold temperatures and the wet soil is delaying the corn planting and also slowing the development of the winter wheat crop. Kansas Ag Statistics, the service says that only 17% of the planted corn is now in the ground. That's 2 weeks behind average. The weather's also slowing wheat development. Just 13% of the crop was headed, about 3 weeks behind normal. 40% of the wheat crop is rated in poor to very poor condition, only 3% rated excellent. Participants in the Kansas Wheat Quality Tour are forecasting the state will harvest 313 million bushels this year. Despite drought and freezes, expected average yields are slightly above 41 bushels per acre. The estimates are based on about 570 stops at wheat fields across the state during a 3-day tour. This year's estimate is down from the 382 million bushels cut last year, but it's still better than this 276 million bushels harvested during drought-plagued 2011. Soil temperatures have been about 8 to 10 degrees below what they were last year, and corn doesn't really like cooler temperatures, especially below 50 degrees. But there are some steps that farmers can take to improve the conditions of their fields. And now that the weather created a shorter planting season, some farmers may wonder if they really need to take that extra time to apply starter fertilizer.
In a cold year especially, it is vitally important that we put a starter program down.
And you can see the difference in those pictures with and without it even. So yeah, it makes a difference.
Anytime we get below 55 degrees, that plant is really struggling to take in nutrients. We get about a third of the root growth, and we also get about half the nutrients taken up. So we've got to have that starter fertilizer to keep that close to that small root zone and promote growth.
In cold soils, there are many new plant growth regulators to help stimulate growth. One option is a relatively new technology called Ascend.
In cold years, that's when it really pays off. And that's actually off our research farm. And again, this is in Wisconsin, cold soils, same thing would pertain to Nebraska. The colder the soils, the better it's going to work. We have about 7 years of data. This is a new technology, and our 5-year average, it really pays off. Where we have cold soils, it's about 11 bushel.
And to listen to this full interview, you can go to our website, nebraska.tv. It's a constant battle for every single drop. Some say that water is taken for granted, while others are making every effort to try to conserve, producing more with less. Water issues were brought to the surface at a conference at the state capitol, and NTV's Grow co-host Steve White has more.
We can see objectively the climate change is happening right here and right now.
Global warming isn't some faraway thing, but a problem in Nebraska that experts say must be dealt with.
If we continue business as usual, we're heading towards a planet that's somewhere between 7 and 11 degrees warmer.
Confronting that will be key, this panel says, when trying to feed a growing world.
Will absolutely affect crop productivity. And so there is now a very much increasing attention on this so what, and so what can we do about these changes.
And that's a big focus of the Global Water for Food Conference, as the University of Nebraska Symposium sounds the alarm on climate change and the impact on food production.
Make it clear we're not prepared to cope with the droughts and floods today, let alone the impacts that will be coming tomorrow and the increasing frequency of these.
2012 was not only the driest on record in Nebraska, but the hottest. The impact comes in higher food prices, something that can be felt globally.
We see people getting angry, riots on the streets.
Surveys find most Nebraskans believe climate change is already happening, although those in agriculture are most likely to say it's part of a normal cycle. Experts say dealing with these issues will take a global alliance,
where all the role players actually connect, share information, share a similar vision of food security for the planet that looks beyond the national boundaries.
As one of the top agriculture producers in the world and home of the Ogallala Aquifer, Nebraska is uniquely positioned to be a world leader on these issues. The University of Nebraska is home to the Water for Food Institute. Recently, they signed a deal to bring Nebraska irrigation know-how to India. Leaders from that country say they lack water to grow crops and are moving to a precision irrigation model, something they're learning from Nebraska.
The government of India is very conscious about it. We have got many initiatives planned and in place to take care of water scarcity problem. One of them is the precision agriculture.
Leaders in India also hope to learn from the Drought Mitigation Center based in Lincoln to develop their own drought warning system. Here's an update on a story we brought to you first here on NTV's Grow. Concerns over the EPA releasing personal information of our farmers and ranchers. And now Senator Mike Johanns says this problem has not been fixed. Here's what he has to say.
News that the EPA has released the personal information of 80,000 livestock operations, including 3,500 in our state of Nebraska, is nothing short of alarming and astounding. It's clearly a disregard for the privacy of farmers and ranchers in Nebraska, but also across the country. And it's at best woeful negligence and at worst an effort to aid organizations that are seeking radically to transform American agriculture with no regard whatsoever for what it takes to feed the world. So now it's up to the EPA to ensure the already released private information is not abused by these groups. Our ranchers and our farmers deserve nothing less. That's why I recently questioned the acting EPA administrator on this troubling action, and I look forward to a response. Now, though, that the horse is out of the barn, EPA needs to rectify their mistake by getting sworn statements or taking other measures to ensure groups who receive the information aren't going to use it inappropriately.
This is an opportunity you might not want to miss. You can still provide facts from your farm or ranch that can impact future decisions. It's the final call from USDA asking producers to be counted and help determine the future of farming and ranching in America. Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack says, our nation needs your help to ensure decisions about U.S. agriculture accurately represent you, your communities, and your industry. Census of Agriculture provides data used by agribusinesses, town planners, local governments, policymakers, and others to shape farm programs, boost rural services, and grow the future of farming. Forms can be turned in by mail or online. How about getting $5,000 worth of groceries free for a year? That's what happened to one local Hastings woman. For a lot of us, we do have to budget around grocery shopping. So when the Nebraska Farmers and Nebraska Farmers Feed Us program kicked off their contest, it went off without a hitch.
Well, we weren't quite sure what to expect because this is the first time it's been done in Nebraska, but it was actually the most internet hits for this promotion of any state per capita. So we were real pleased with that. And hopefully if we do something similar in the future, it'll be successful again.
Over the past 4 months, participants had the chance to learn more about local farmers and their families while entering in the contest. Over 130,000 ballots were entered since early January. And with a little luck and perseverance, one local mother took home the prize.
You know, you could enter 7 times a day, and I just did that. I got on, I plugged away, I did it, you know, 7 times a day for weeks. And you know, you just, if I get it, I get it. If I don't, it's still worth the time. It's worth the chance.
She went on to say that they're getting ready to move and that this couldn't have come at a better time for them. Gestation stalls for pigs has been stirring up controversy. We're going to get the producer's side of pig confinement. Also, pig skin used in emergency rooms. We'll explain all this next.